Hey, what's up guys? It's Rick with the Digital Divide, and today I want to talk about retro gaming in 2023, specifically the work that it takes to restore, repair, and kind of keep up with maintenance on these video games and consoles. With age comes things breaking and a lot of maintenance required, so I want to touch on a variety of different scenarios here to give you guys some tips and tricks and hopefully help you save some money. Things have changed a lot since the 90s and early 2000s. Before, you bought something and you got it in the condition it was in and that was it. But today, you can easily find replacements for everything. So I'm going to start with the most obvious and easiest thing to do to help increase the condition of a used video game that you bought, and that's case replacement. So here's an example of a game that I picked up recently called Resurfacing for the Xbox. There's a bunch of sticker residue on it, and the case is cracked and there's pieces missing, and it's just really disgusting and dirty. So this case is not salvageable in my opinion, so I just bought a brand new case, and the game and manual itself are in excellent condition. The only issue is the case itself. So this is a very simple and easy way to improve the condition of the game in this specific scenario. So we're going to go ahead and insert the game artwork into the sleeve, and I put it in backwards. So make sure that the front cover is not on the disc side of the case when you insert it. So we're going to go ahead and insert the cover and just swap the cases out, put back in the manual and the game. The game looks brand new again, like it was just bought today. Now, these replacement cases are easy to find on Amazon. They make a variety of colors. This is obviously the green one for Xbox. They make a black one that I use for PlayStation 2 cases, and then white I use for Nintendo Wii and Sega Saturn. We'll touch on the Saturn in a little bit. Alright, so the next obvious and easy, simple thing to restore the condition of a game is to clean them and get rid of any stickers or residue that might be on them. These are two Nintendo 64 games that I purchased, and they're in horrible condition, but we're going to fix them up and make them look as good as they possibly can, and we're going to start by removing these stickers. These Blockbuster stickers are kind of a pain because even when you remove them, you're left with this void residue underneath. But thankfully, those can get scratched off pretty easily. So we're going to go ahead and remove all of these stickers on these cartridges. And again, these two first tips are super basic and obvious. Anyone can do them. Doesn't require any technical knowledge whatsoever. So I'm going to spend the next 10 minutes, what seems like eternity, scratching the stickers off of this thing. But what we're left with is still a ton of sticker residue on the cartridge that still needs to be removed. And you can tell that some of these stickers have been on here for over 10 years at least. I mean, it's just like bonded to the plastic at this point. So what we're going to use to get rid of that is a substance called Goo Gone. If you haven't heard of Goo Gone, then you need to get familiar with it if you collect retro video gaming. It's amazing. This stuff gets rid of all of the sticker residue or any kind of adhesive residue that might be on your old cartridges. I've been using it for years and it works wonders. So we're going to grab like a brittle pad or a bristle pad, and we're going to apply a decent amount to one corner of this pad. And once the Goo Gone substance is on your pad, you're going to scrub the hell out of this thing as hard as you can on the plastic. But when you get to the paper, you want to be a lot more gentle because we don't want to scrape the artwork off of the paper. But on the plastic, you can go as hard as you want to, and sometimes you're going to need to go hard to get it off, especially with the Blockbuster void sticker. But we're just going to go ahead and scrub these until all of the sticker residue, or at least the vast majority of it, is removed. Now on this Ridge Racer cart, there's something in the middle here. It looks like, I don't know what that is. It might be like old bubble gum or something, but I'm going to take a knife and I'm going to gently try to scrape off as much of that as I can and try really hard not to mess up the artwork or cut the actual label there. I'm not going to be able to get all of this off, but I'm going to get as much of it as I can off. And I think that's about the best we're going to be able to do right now. So I'm going to continue scrubbing this down, and we're just going to rinse and repeat the same process with the Star Wars Rogue Squadron cartridge as well. Alright guys, so now that we're done, this is what the cartridge looked like before, and this is what it looks like after. For the Ridge Racer cart, this is what it looked like before, and again, this is what it looks like after. It's not perfect by any means, but it looks a lot better than it did when I got it. So that Rogue Squadron game didn't actually play on my Nintendo 64, and if I started to take a closer look at the insides, and I could see that there was a lot of white material that looked like rust or mold. That is not supposed to be there. If you look at the contacts to the right of these two on the left, you can see what they're supposed to look like versus what these two look like. And I don't know if this metal is there just as a heat shield or if it grounds the cartridge in any way, but we're gonna have to open it up to take a look and see what's going on to see if we can repair this, and sometimes you gotta do that. Now, to get a Nintendo 64 cartridge open, it was pretty tricky because it uses these very unique screws that I have never seen before. Thankfully, I have a kit with a huge number and variety of screwdriver bits. This one in particular needs the G3.8 bit, and I happen to have one luckily, so we're going to go ahead and remove the two screws on the outside of this case to get into it. Now that the screws are removed, there's these two tabs on the bottom, and it should just slide completely right off without much effort. And right off the bat, you can see that there's rust here, there's rust up here in the corner as well. And again, I don't know if this metal on the PCB is just a heat shield, or if it is required to provide electrical grounding. Based on what I'm seeing here, it looks like it is literally just there as a heat shield and nothing more. So we're gonna take this off and take a look at the actual PCB of the cartridge itself to see if it's in good condition or if that has any issues. And again, you can see the rust here. I don't know if that's from water damage or what. All right, so now this, if you were ever curious what a Nintendo 64 cartridge actually looks like, this is it. This tiny little board is it. And actually it looks like it's in great condition. The capacitor doesn't look like it's leaking. The solder points are still perfect. The contacts for the motherboard interface look great as well. So I don't know, I can't figure out what the problem is here, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and clean everything as a precautionary measure, and I'm going to use Q-tips as well as isopropyl rubbing alcohol, 70%, which you can find at your local Walmart or Rite Aid or a variety of places. And guys, I was able to get this thing working by just cleaning the contacts at the bottom here. Alright, so the next thing I want to talk about is cover replacement, and this is another very easy and simple way to improve your collection. So sometimes you buy a game at a yard sale or a flea market or even a used video game store, retail store, and it doesn't come with the original case or artwork, and it's just essentially just the disc. There are ways to fix that. So one example here is that I recently picked up a copy of Guardian Heroes for the Sega Saturn. As you can see, this game is very expensive. It goes between $220 to $300. So it is a very expensive game, but what I did is I found a copy of the game that is just the disc only, and it was $99 or best offer. So I submitted an offer for $90 and he accepted it, and I saved myself $130 by just buying the disc, and that's okay because I can make my own case and reproduce the artwork, because essentially you're just paying an extra $130 for a piece of plastic. And no offense to the Saturn, I love the Saturn, it's one of my favorite systems ever made, but the cases were notoriously horrible. The hinges broke constantly, they're easily scratched up, they're very brittle, so it cracks and breaks a lot. They're just horrible cases, if we're being honest. So I made my own, and this is how it turned out. It's super high quality, glossy photo paper with a reproduction case, and it's super high resolution. Honestly, it looks better than the original case does. And, you know, the game is completely authentic. It's in there. The only thing we're really missing here is the instruction manual, but I'm okay with that. And here's some other examples of games that I actually do own the case for, but I still made reproduction cases for them. Essentially, whenever I buy a Saturn game, the first thing I do is put the original case in storage and make a reproduction case, because these are much easier to display and store, and they're a lot more durable. They won't break every time I try to open them. So guys, I'm going to walk you through the entire process from start to finish. Here's a copy of Boom Blocks that I picked up for the Nintendo Wii. This is a functional game. Game is in great condition, but it's just the disc with no case and no artworks. So step number one is get online to your site of choice. Mine is Amazon, and I buy a replacement case. Next, we're going to buy some really high quality photo paper, and we're going to hop on thecoverproject.net. And we're gonna search for Nintendo Wii games. Let's scroll down here and look for it. And then we're gonna head over to the B category and look for a cover for Boom Blocks. And you can see they have a variety. They have the Canadian cover, the American, the PAL cover, which is the British cover. So we're gonna download the American copy of this cover. And it's a super high resolution scan. We're just going to go ahead and print this out. And when you print this out, you want to make sure that you adjust a couple settings. If you're using really high quality, like photography paper like I am, you're going to want to make sure you switch the paper type to glossy. And then you're going to change the output quality from normal to high, and make sure that borderless printing is off. Otherwise, it won't print at the right size. And you also need to change it to landscape mode. And when you do all of this, the print will come out looking like this. And all you have to do is cut it out to size. And guys, this is a super high quality, really nice looking print. This is the end result. I started off with just a disc, and now I have the disc with the case and the original artwork printed out on very high quality paper. And this is something that you can put on a shelf. And the only thing we're really missing here is the instruction manual, which is not a big deal in my opinion. So next, we're going to take a look at a slightly more involved project. So these are some Sony PSP games that I picked up recently. A lot of these, I'd say 3 out of the 4 are in horrible condition. There's a lot of sticker residue. The cases are not really held together. This one of the 4 here, the twisted metal one, I think this one's fine. I don't really need to do anything with that, but the other 3 really need some work. So here's Patapon, for example. The front piece of plastic is completely detached from the original game, which is really bad. And you can see that it won't stay shut. The teeth that keep the top of that closed are completely broken off and missing. And if we look at this Ghost in the Shell movie, it's really disgusting. There's a ton of dirt in here that's gotten into the disc, and it also won't close. So we're just gonna crack this open. If you look on the inside, you can see that it's absolutely filthy. So this is what the actual PSP games look like on the inside. And again, you can see all the dirt on the inside of this old case. So we're gonna get rid of that. So PSP games are essentially just disc-based games, just like any other, but they're in a plastic shell. So both of these will not run in a PSP as is. They're damaged beyond use. So we're gonna fix this completely up. The next thing we have to do is replace the shells for the games, and you can hop on Amazon or whatever site you'd like, and you can buy replacement UMD shells for the games. So I bought this, about 10 bucks. I also picked up some replacement UMD cases, and these are a bit more expensive. It's about $18 for 5, but well worth it in my opinion. So these are the replacement shells for the PlayStation Portable. So we're going to go ahead and take these out, and we're going to install the game discs inside of these new shells. Now, these shells are completely transparent, so they're not an exact one-to-one match with the original Sony shells. If we pull them up here side by side, the real difference is that it doesn't say UMD in the middle and it's not white. It is just completely transparent, but aside from that, they are completely 100% the same as far as functionality is concerned, and it's better than having a game that doesn't run at all. So complete win in my opinion. So what you're going to start off doing is you're going to grab the UMD disc. While you have it, you might as well go ahead and clean it completely out, because once it's in the case, you're not going to really take it out unless it gets damaged for some reason. So here is the replacement case, and you want to very gently open up the top only, just the top. Do not attempt to open up the bottom. You should see the teeth there. Just keep it held open and then pop the disc in and let it drop, and then close the case back up, and those plastic teeth at the top should keep it closed. And there we go. You've got a functional PSP game. Before we had one that didn't work, and now it works. Next, we need the cover art. That starts with hopping on the coverproject.net, just like with the Nintendo Wii example that I showed you before, and printing out some high-quality reproduction art. And these are the three that I already downloaded. This is a Patapon one, and I actually made this one myself because there wasn't one already on there, and we'll touch on that a bit later. But the website is great, but sometimes they don't have everything, and when they don't, you can help the community out by making your own covers and then uploading them. So here's Twisted Metal. This is one that was available that I downloaded, and then the last one here that I want to talk about is SOCOM. So this was, again, a scan that was already on there, and I just printed it out. And guys, the end result looks like this. So we started off with a broken PSP game that didn't work, and now we have a working PSP game in the case with a brand new replacement shell and the original cover art. Again, the only thing we're missing is the instruction manual. Not a big deal. And guys, I can't overstate the importance of this website, thecoverproject.com. It's a really great website for video game enthusiasts. This is a cover I actually made myself for Arctic Thunder. I picked it up just the disc only, and I went here to download the cover and there wasn't one, so I made my own. I don't like to toot my own horn, but I think that came out pretty well. And you can remake cases by finding really high quality scans online and piecing them together. I'm going to touch on that a little bit later. But as you can see, there's a ton of consoles here to choose from. Pretty much everything is covered. I also made a cover for Patapon, but it looks like it hasn't loaded just yet. Alright guys, so I'm going to run you through just the basics of how to make a replacement cover. So I bought Ghost in the Shell for the PSP, not the game, but the movie. So I went over to the coverproject.net and I navigated to PSP movies. And I went to the G category and there's nothing there, so I have to make my own. Now, I found this really high quality scan of the front cover of the PSP UMD video case for the PSP, and we're going to use this as a base. So that's going to be the cover, and I also found a copy of the game case, the complete game case for the PSP. This is going to be critical because it gives us a lot of UI elements to work off of. Really all we need to do here is take this and replace the front and back artwork and we're good to go. So we're going to use this, and then the last thing we need to do is find a picture of the back of what the UMD video case for Ghost in the Shell is supposed to look like. So for that, I hopped over to eBay, and again, this is a very, very dirty, quick and easy method. I usually take a lot more time and effort, but for this one, I just wanted to give you a quick example. So I hopped on eBay, I found somebody selling a copy of this, and I'm just going to take a screen grab of the back of the UMD box art, and I'm going to copy this. So we're going to use this for our back. Okay, so to start off, we're going to go ahead and open up the PSP game cover for this using Paint 3D in Windows. And then we're going to go ahead and open up the high quality scan that I found of the front cover of the UMD movie. And we're going to essentially just copy this. Well, we're going to crop it out. So we're gonna choose the select tool and we're gonna carefully crop out the front cover of this scan. And then we're gonna make a copy of it. And then we're gonna jump back over to our full PSP cover scan. We're gonna paste this here above the front cover of the game, because again, this is Ghost in the Shell, the UMD video, not the game. The next thing we need to do is we need to work on the center of this, because although this is Ghost in the Shell, again, it's not standalone complex, it's not the game, so we need to modify the label so that it just says Ghost in the Shell and it doesn't include the video game title. So we're gonna go ahead and do that by filling the rest of this label in as black. Now, we're going to leave the Ghost in the Shell text as is. I'm not going to worry about making that look exactly like the UMD video version of this. But there is a little bit of gray on the PSP artwork, so I'm going to try to see if I can blend in a little bit of that just to make it look a bit more natural here. All right, I think that looks pretty good for now. Again, this is a very quick and simple demonstration of how easy it is to make a replacement cover. It's not perfect. I usually take a lot more time and I find higher quality assets to use so that it looks exactly like the original case, but again, this is just for demonstration purposes. So the last thing we need here is the back cover. So we're gonna take the copy of the image that I grabbed off of that eBayer who is selling a copy of this movie. And again, same thing as before, we're gonna hit the select tool in Microsoft Paint 3D, and we're gonna crop out the back image. I was gonna see if I could darken this up a bit, but that's not working out for me. So I'll find a different solution, but for now we're just going to crop out the image and then paste it onto our main project image. So now that that's cropped out, we're going to copy it and then we're going to paste it onto our main project image. And we are literally just going to cover the back of the video game box with the movie image that we found on eBay. And I'm going to try my best to see if I can darken up the back, because it certainly does not match the front. The front's a high-resolution scan of the original UMD video case, whereas the back is just a picture that somebody took on an eBay sale. So I'm going to try to blend in a little bit on the label side to the back. Again, this is very sloppy. I realize that this is not ideal. This is not normally how I do it. This is just a really quick example. Now that we're done here, we're going to go ahead and save it. And once it's saved, we're going to print it out. And when you print it out, there's a few things that you need to be aware of. You're going to want to use a program like GIMP, for example, which is free to download. And the reason for that is because a program like GIMP allows you to modify the exact measurements of the print output. So we're going to head over to Images, and then from Images, we're going to go to Print Size. And as you can see in this document here, I have the exact measurements for what the print size of a PSP cover label should be, which is 6.6 inches height and 8.217 inches in width. So now that that's done, we're going to print that out and we are good to go. And guys, you can do this with any console. With the Nintendo 64, for example, there's a company called Bitbox that makes replacement Nintendo 64 cartridges, and they look like this. And you know, a lot of the time when you buy a Nintendo 64 game at a flea market or a third-party reseller, it's just going to be the cartridge. So you can buy a case like this and then head over to the coverproject.net and head over to the Nintendo 64 area. And in this example, I'm going to use Smash Brothers because I have a copy of Smash Brothers for the Nintendo 64 that is just the cartridge. So for me, I'd head over to the coverproject.net, I'd find the right cover, and there's a variety of them. There's American, there's Japanese, there's PAL, and there's different sizes as well. So this particular one here is meant to fix that reproduction case that they sell on eBay. So if we go ahead and download this, this is what it looks like. So we'll go ahead and print out a high quality copy of this on glossy paper. And then in combination with the box, this is what the final outcome will look like. So now you've got a really nice box with the proper cover art that is much higher quality than the original, because the original was just really flimsy cardboard. This is hard plastic. It'll protect the game better than the original case would. And you saved a lot of money. So I'm kind of showing you all of these tips and tricks on the service of just saving money so that you can build an amazing collection without spending an arm and a leg on it. The final thing I want to touch on here is resurfacing video game discs. So here's a game called Scorcher for the Sega Saturn that I bought, and I got this for basically next to nothing. And the reason why is because the game is not working. I think it's because of this deep scratch at the top here. So the seller said, look, I'll give you this for dirt cheap because it doesn't work. It's got a lot of scratches on it. And I figured, no problem, I'll fix it myself. I'll buy it for dirt cheap and then I'll resurface it. And so that's what I did. And I think I paid like $1 or $2 for this game, if I'm being honest, plus shipping. I mean, I literally got it for next to nothing. So there are different methods to resurface. The first is using an old school disc repair system like this. This is a manual method where it's hand cranked, and there are these two buffer pads at the top here, and then this bottom part where you put the disc in, and you just hand crank this thing using a specialized liquid that will help resurface the disc. It's a bit archaic and old-fashioned. There are more modern ways to do this. The method that I use is called the Skip Doctor. This is a fully automatic electronic machine here that will resurface the discs for you. And it sells for only a little over $30 on Amazon, and it works really well in my experience. So to start, you buy your game that is not working, and it comes with this dry pad as well as this buffer pad and the resurfacing liquid itself. So you're going to need all three of these, and we're going to start by grabbing the game disc, and we're going to apply a very liberal amount of the resurfacing or repair liquid on the disc. I mean, you really want to drench this thing. You want it to be soaking wet. Next, we're going to insert it into the resurfacing machine and then hit the button to turn it on, and you're going to let this run for 2 revolutions. So you want it to go around twice. I would not recommend doing it any more than that because as that liquid dissipates on the disc, you could damage it. So let it go around for 2 revolutions, then take the dry cloth and rub away any excess liquid. The next step here is we're going to grab the buffer pad, and this is very important. You want to grab the buffer pad and you want to push as hard as you can and just rub that residue from the liquid repair. It'll fill in the smaller cracks on the disc and then harden, and you want to take your time with this. Don't skip on this step, but at the end result should be that the disc looks something like this. It should have like a radial pattern. It's kind of hard to see on this video. But once that's done, the next phase is just testing. So you're going to want to insert the disc into whatever system it's for, and then see if it loads up. And guys, I'm going to speed this part up for the sake of time here. But as you can see, the game is now loading where it was not before. So I saved a ton of money by buying a game that I knew that I could repair. And this is just another tip to help you save some money. So guys, that's really going to do it for me today. I hope that some of these tips or tricks help you in your collecting when you're going out thrift shopping. To kind of restore the value and condition of the game and take it from being just a disc or a cartridge to being a collectible again. So that's going to do it for me today. Let me know what you thought in the comments below.